no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud to rep your city. New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for them hard fouls. Diving on the asphalt and driveways.
Well, the last one of this season of the No Blood, No Foul podcast presented by Real GM. I'm your host Slice. Back to you guys after a little hiatus. Unfortunately, Coke is unable to join us tonight, but I am joined with our co-host Jim, executive producer Moo, as well as Kyle with the stats and tech in the back. The Knicks season unfortunately came to an end tonight. As they lose the series 4-1 versus the Hawks in a 14-point loss, 103-89. The first quarter saw the Knicks go down 5 before they were kind of make a little bit of a comeback, and the first tied at 21. The Knicks then took an early lead in the second quarter before the Hawks were kind of able to swing things around to their advantage, going up 5 into halftime, 52-47. The two stars were the leading scorers for each team. Julius Randle with 15 for the Knicks, while Trae Young led the Hawks with 14. The second half just sucked. Flat out, I don't have any other way to describe it. Nothing else to really say. Sure, there were some moments the Knicks did well. IQ, I guess, at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, but just sucked overall. And just a sucky way for the season to end. A successful season overall, which ends in a way that left it a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths. Just the way Clint Capella was talking to smack. Knicks were back in game, back in the Garden, and just couldn't find a way to keep home court, and just a disappointing season. That's really all I got to say about it. Jim, just going to kick it off straight to you, man, for your thoughts.
Outworked, out hustled, out coached, out game planned, just out everything. I thought, I was away in Colorado. I thought me being in Colorado was bad luck. Apparently, it's just as bad luck for me to be back here in New York. The Hawks just got into the Knicks' heads. We looked like clowns. Honestly, like that stuff, like what Noel shoulder checked Trae Young at the end of the half. Then he got into like a fight. Like we just look like clowns. Like there's really nothing else other to say than that. Like what Capella said made a lot of sense. He was just like, you can play hard, you can hard foul, but you don't do stupid things. We did a lot of stupid stuff because you know what? They locked us up. I mean, Trae wasn't even really that good tonight, and I don't think anyone really even went off on the squad. I think Hunter had 15. That was like the second most points on the team, and they just dominated us up and down the floor. It also, it shows how important Clint Capella is. I don't want to give him praise after he's talked so much smack about us, but he locked the paint down, just locked it up. We couldn't get to the rim at all, and we couldn't really hit any of the open outside shots. Like they're not a great defensive team, but they made everything very, very difficult for us. I mean, it was great to see IQ and RJ have some flashes. I know first half Randall looked like Randall again. But it's just a really deflating loss and a really deflating series because we should have been able to hang with these guys. Moo, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, you can, talk the talk if you can walk the walk, right? And the Hawks basically, not just walked, but they walked all over the Knicks. You knew it was bad. I thought it was bad, right? The Knicks' only hope was that coming back to the Garden, the Hawks would be not as, up. But they were more up than the Knicks, right? Even early on in the first, they kind of kept it even, but you saw signs that this is going to be a repeat, and it's pretty much was almost the exact repeat of the last game. I mean, there's nothing really the Knicks could do. Randall, he was just brutal, but it's the whole team, right? You win as a team, you lose as a team, and this whole team just stunk it up. Just nobody clicked on anything. Only player that consistently played well all 4 games was Taj. That's about it. And you can't win a playoff series when your best player, most consistent player, is a 35 or 36-year-old backup center, right? So they're just not realistic. The Hawks, you have to give them credit. They played great. They did what the Knicks did during the regular season, which I think is play above themselves, right? They picked the perfect time. Kind of reminds me of 2012-13. Right, when the Knicks had a great regular season, they were heading into the playoffs, and everybody was very high, and then they just got steamrolled, I think, by the Pacers. Right, it's kind of the same thing. It's almost like history repeating itself. They faced a Hawks team that was just clicking. Their defense on Randall and on everybody was great. I mean, it was so good. I think their defense that made the Knicks defense look terrible, right? Because if you watch the two sides going back and forth, I mean, the Knicks defense was just awful in comparison. So I mean,
They
hey,
didn't even score a lot of points this series. Like I think this
yeah,
they got up to like 103. That's like way behind their basketball card normally.
right,
And yeah, you're right. It's just like look, like every shot was open. It felt like for them,
right, yeah,
and they didn't even like they didn't. It wasn't a domination. You know, they just locked us up. You know,
yep,
they didn't just run
yep.
us off the court. They
They
just
they they won both sides of the ball, right? I think they
yeah.
mentioned the Knicks held the lead for like what 20 seconds, double digit lead.
If
The
that.
Hawks held it for like an hour. Well, after this
Yeah.
game, probably hour and a half. Um,
I didn't
yeah,
hear that stat, but that
yeah,
seems right. You
yeah,
know, it seems like what happened.
yeah, and you know, what else can you say? Season. It was a good season. It was a bad season. I mean, it's over. You know, hopefully they figure out what's going on and make changes to get better. I don't think they'll, you know, look to do anything other than try to get better. So we'll see what they do. Kyle, what's your take?
I mean, I got it pretty much out. The last couple games I did, we just don't have that lead shot creator. That's about it. That's the main thing we need. We need that lead shot creator. He needs to be a superstar. We just need to be better. But I'm optimistic about the future. We got a lot of cap space, got a lot of assets. We can do a lot this offseason or next offseason. Just gotta be seen if Rose can pull it off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, right? I think a lot of people are going to be upset. One of my buddies just texted me earlier. He's like, man, just what a disappointing ending. He's like, the Knicks were on national TV. All of my buddies predicted the Knicks to beat the Hawks this series. We were talking about it, right? Atlanta was a team we wanted to play. But, you guys kind of alluded to it. Atlanta's defense was really well this year, and they were a strong defensive team when Nate McMillan took over. But what they did to Randall was really, they could throw a lot of different looks at him. Yeah, John Collins, Gallinari, Hunter, all kind of long, athletic. Gallinari's not the most athletic guy, but long guys, and some were a little bit more tough, some were more fast. They were able to give him different looks on defense, which really threw him off his game. But he was still missing so many open jumpers where, I don't know if it was playoff jitters, carrying the Knicks at that point. So it was just a shit way for it to end, to be honest, man. But yeah, like you guys said, the Knicks fans should be optimistic. Nobody thought the 4 seed was going to happen. Got the 4 seed, home court advantage in the playoffs. You just got to remember, Kyle, you said it best. The Knicks have the cap space. We did this with a team with not much talent. A lot of, Atlanta's a more talented team than us. They have more talented NBA players than the Knicks do. Just Tibbs got out coached. Jim, you said that a lot. We just got out coached, and Nate McMillan made those adjustments, made the right decisions. And Tibbs just, outside of making the big change that should have been made halfway through the season by benching Alfred Payton, he didn't make the necessary changes mid-game. Seeing that maybe putting in Frank to start and bringing Rose in so the bench continuity stays.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky. Coke isn't here right now.
Actually, you're lucky that you weren't here the last 2 games.
Oh,
I could care less. I didn't even hear it. I did hear the other game that I called out after game one. If you blame Frank Ntilikina at all for this series, I mean, there's really nothing to. You're just hating the guy. I mean, I didn't get a chance to listen to it, but somebody else needed to start outside of Derrick Rose. As much as I liked having Derrick Rose start and playing with the starters, I think it should have been Frank. Let him play defense. If he sucks for the first 5 minutes, he wouldn't have done worse than Alfred Payton. But
Slice, here's my rebuttal to that, right? And this is going to be a statistical thing, right? So let me ask you guys: do you think we were worse on defense in the playoffs than we were in the regular season, and by how much?
Worse than
what metric?
Based on what? Yeah.
Than our regular season.
Based
What
on
are you going by?
Yeah.
Like what metric though?
Oh, I'm going by defensive rating. Points given up
I'm
per
sure
100.
we were good. I'm
Yeah,
sure if you
I'd
look
say it's
at
better.
everything, because we held them down to not a lot of points.
Mhm.
Our offense was just brutal. It wasn't defense.
The
Knicks offense
exactly.
was awful.
Exactly, that's the thing. You look at the defense, we went from 107.8 points per 100 given up to 109.7, which would have only dropped us back from 4th to 5th in the regular season. So that's what I'm going to say is, you want to say, start Frank for defense. Yeah, but the defense wasn't the reason we lost. It was we didn't score any points. Frank wouldn't really give us that.
Awful rotations. I mean, I think that should also come with kind of an asterisk there, because in the playoffs, the game slows down. you're expecting everybody else's defense to quote unquote get better if you look at it just
Mhm.
statistically
Sure.
and things like that. And especially this series, the NBA playoffs do slow down. The defenses look a lot better on paper, but I
Well,
think that's
that's
just
the
on
thing about
paper.
defensive rating is it accounts for pace.
Yeah, and honestly, the pace of this series and especially this game tonight, how it started, to me favored the Knicks. We just couldn't make the right stops, and to me, the Knicks just looked so lost. And I think maybe maybe not even saying it specifically for this game. We could say the defensive rating was well. Our pick and roll defense throughout the whole 5 game series, which is really what the staple of any
Hmm.
good defensive team
Brutal.
is how well you stop the pick and roll, was the worst by far I've seen in years.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
I
I
mean,
think this is worse than some of the really bad Knicks teams. The defense was just awful. Pick and roll. It's terrible.
Worse than a Fizdale team, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, this was amateur hour with some of the defense, and I think that's what messed me up the most, or really annoyed me the most. This was a strong defensive team all season. We were a lockdown team. Everybody said the Knicks are tough. The Knicks are tough. And then to Jim's point, we looked like clowns. Coming in with the shove here or there. Doing those fake tough guy things after halftime. But during the game, that defense couldn't stop a pick and roll. You're letting lollipop head Trey, just clown you in your own arena. That to me was really, I guess, what left the worst taste in my mouth, or really what kind of left a big sour note for everybody was just they rolled over and they didn't
I
give
mean,
up any.
I don't even think the defense was that bad tonight. I mean, how many shot jumpers did we see rim out? I mean, how many times did Clint Capella swat the shot away at the rim? I mean, we just couldn't score. It was brutal. Like I said, Trey wasn't even that great tonight. I mean, he hit a bunch of threes and got a bunch of free throws. I mean, I don't want to even get started on the refs. I mean, they clearly didn't call this series fair
Yeah, it wasn't.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
RJ gets swatted and like checked, and Trey can headbutt Reggie Bullock in the face, and Trey ends up shooting free throws. It's like I just saw they just call. Then they have the audacity to call a foul for Randall creating the contact. Just like absolute bush league stuff. But like again, like they were so much better than us that really didn't even come into that much of in play. I mean, I saw like 2 or 3 RJ shots that one was like a straight up toilet bowl, but there was like 2 or 3 other ones that kind of like rolled in and out too. Like that stuff is the difference in the game. I mean, what did we end up shooting tonight from the field? Like I'm assuming we were in the 30%.
37.8.
Yeah, I mean, how are you gonna win like win like that?
We did shoot 40% from 3 though.
Woo!
Yeah.
I mean that's good. We finally turned around our
Wait, but
shot.
that means we're actually worse.
Yes.
Yeah, 4,
Yes, it does. We were hang on, let me 52. 36.5% from 2.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't win like
the
that.
the Clint Capella effect. I mean, we were taking a bunch of crazy and like even tonight, Randall had a bunch of wide open mid range shots, but he was scared to take them. He didn't want to take them anymore because he's shooting like 10% on those shots.
He
now.
was he was shook big time. He looked like Obi looked early in the season because
Yeah.
I owe Obi Toppin an apology. He looked bad during the regular season. He didn't look.
Yeah,
as
he was
bad as
great.
Randall looked
Yeah.
in the postseason. He played with energy. He hustled.
He played better than IQ most of the games this playoff, with the exception of the first one. He was better. He finally looked like our lottery pick.
Hey, so when do we start up that talk of we should trade Randall and start Obi?
Oh
yeah,
man,
no, I don't think so.
I think that should
Yeah,
go
I don't
into
know about
the post game thread of Real GM.
Yeah, that's why I avoided
I'm
that.
We're doing a take back. We're going back in time. We're treating Randall for Batum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that's headed out.
See, and to me, right? To me, that was the biggest thing. Everybody was talking about Julius Randle is a better Nick than Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was never this shook in the playoffs.
Yeah,
That is very true.
that's correct.
But that's just a whole nother conversation, right? What Julius Randle did, and this is where it's going to be tough, and this is where where we get into the nuances, and you see it a lot on the board. what the Knicks did in the regular season, and I'm just going to keep doing it because that's the only thing keeping me sane, keeping me happy, keeping me positive. What we did in the regular season was phenomenal, amazing, exceeded expectations. This whole season, even if you include the playoffs, I deem a success, right? And I think the playoffs hopefully are a learning point. That kind of next stepping stone. This is what the playoffs are like. This is what the intensity is like. The Hawks had a little bit more of those veteran players. I don't think it could be understated how Lou Williams came in off the bench. They didn't lose that production or scoring. They still had a threat at the one spot that the Knicks kind of missed when Derrick Rose took over that starting role. And you're stuck with either Alec Burks or IQ trying to be that guard. But to me, I think really what's going to happen is what do the Knicks do this offseason and how do they grow the next step from there? Julius Randle had an awful season last year. We saw how he changed this game and elevated himself this season, most improved player and all-star. I'm, I'm curious because I think the Knicks are a playoff team next year. With how we've been trending, improving, what Tibbs did. Do you guys agree? Is there anybody here that thinks the Knicks are going to fall off and actually take a step back next year?
I think it's distinctly
No.
possible.
Oh, really?
I mean, again, we played with empty open arenas and only 2,000 people for most of the season. They didn't look, and granted, like the playoffs, they're certainly a different animal. Like, I mean, I watched who's the Myers? What's the first guy? The name of the GM over in Golden State?
Bob.
I watched some Bob Myers. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched some video clip with him sitting on stage with Paul Pierce, and them just being like, yeah, like you really need guys that can do multiple things on the floor because the playoffs are just not a completely different basketball, and we just look like we were not prepared to play playoff basketball. I mean, I got to see RJ shoot 40% from three. I need RJ and Randall to both prove that they can shoot like how they shot this year with people in the arena. I mean, we saw what happened to Miami. Like Miami was absolute dominant last year, and then the Bucks destroyed them this year. And like, granted, things are different and stuff like that. We have to be smart, and we need our main guys to still keep these steps up. And I'm always afraid when guys are doing something for the first time that they may not be able to do this again the following season.
I mean, the thing is, right? If you look at the Hawks, their GM is the guy that a lot of people said actually really was behind the scenes, the genius behind the Warriors, right? And he put this team up together pretty quickly, right? He saw what he had, which was he had this one little short, tiny, lightweight superstar point guard. So how do I build around him, right? What do I need to throw around him to make him better? And therefore, how do I allow him to make everybody else better? And he did that perfectly, right? Travis Schlenk, right? He got Capella, so he's got that one guy that can make up for the biggest weakness that your all-star point guard, superstar point guard has, which is defense, right? Then
Don't forget DeAndre Hunter too.
Yep,
He's a lockdown defender as well
absolutely.
on the lane.
Also, don't forget their other top 10 pick, Cam Reddish.
It was injured all year, initially.
Yeah.
He's also essentially a taller, worse Frank.
Yeah.
But I mean, the good thing is that
I mean, Kevin Huerter is really good too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bench. Yeah.
But that's the thing, right?
He's a bench guy, but like
all these guys can shoot, right? So they can spread the floor.
a bunch of them can create too.
Right, and they could create, and they're long enough to defend, and they're physical, right? So that you don't need to have a whole bunch of superstars, right? If you can build a team, and the Hawks built up a really good team around their one star. So can the Knicks front office do that? I don't know. That's going to be their test, right? This is they really this previous offseason, I wouldn't, I kind of, it was a brand new front office. So I don't think they really had a lot of time to figure out what they wanted to do. I think this summer is key, right? It doesn't mean that they have to trade or get a superstar, but they have to show that they know what they're doing. So with all the big names, right, in the front office, they have to show something that you can say, yeah, that was the right move, right? Whether it's not to overpay to get some, washed up superstar, or to somehow sneak in a trade with somebody that's up and coming, right? And find guys that can actually step up and play. That's going to be the test. I think that's the key. I don't think Randall's going anywhere. They can't. If they trade Randall for whatever, that's a couple of steps back. And Tibbs and Rose and all these guys are not brought in to build long term. We knew that from the start. They're not going to change that. They're going to hopefully try to build around Randall.
So speaking of washed up superstars, Slice and Jim, I want to get your guys' input on this because last time Moo tried to sneak one past us, right? He tried to say we should get Russell Westbrook. What do you guys think of that?
For free.
Jim,
I mean,
I'll let you
it depends.
tackle that first.
It depends on for what. You know, if it's for free,
for $90 million over the next 2 years. For
I don't
$90
care
million.
about James Dolan's money.
I care when
it's like it.
I care about the salary cap.
Yes, I care about the salary cap.
I care about the salary cap.
I don't know.
It's funny because on the one hand, he's probably if he was on this team for this series, I think it would have been completely different. So I think that's the trap that I threw out there because Westbrook, forget about his next 2 years. If he was on this team right now for this playoffs, I think we'd be looking at a different thing. Because he's the type of personality that would just fit in perfectly. He would take over the number one. It would allow everybody to relax. Randall doesn't have to carry the load, and all the Knicks role players can continue to be role players. I think that's why I threw it out there. Yeah, it wasn't so much for the next 2 years. I think because his contract's outrageous. But just for now, right? Just the thought, because I told you guys I had a dream that Westbrook was actually on the Knicks for the playoffs. So.
It would definitely help for one because he can actually get like consistent dribble penetration, right. And we really didn't have anybody that could do that this series. I mean, if he could shoot like a lick, if he could give you 30%, I would say sure, let's try it for the 2 years. Because again, I don't know if anyone's coming. Like we're gonna have to make a trade for somebody, I think. And if you could do that for essentially free, I think I would take a shot at it. I think. Slice, go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I get the positives, right? I get dribble penetration. He's got the energy, the attitude. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. I'll give him that. I was very high on him earlier. There's a reason his teams don't win anything. He can't shoot. You would see a lot more frustration because he just jack up a shot, just like Julius Randle did, and he'd brick it. Except Russell Westbrook has proven time and time again, he's going to do it every single year. We're hoping this was just an abomination, jitters for Julius Randle. Russell Westbrook has proven year over year that you can't rely on him to hit a big three or a big shot to kind of when you need him most, right? He's going to play tough. He's going to get you rebounds. He's going to facilitate. He's going to break down the defense. But I don't think he's that player to get you over the top. I think if he was on the Knicks this season, our best case scenario would have been our best case scenario, had we had Mitchell Robinson, which is I think we win this series. And, barring Joel Embiid's injury aside, and even at that point, I think we lose the next round to Philly. If everybody's healthy. I think if the Knicks had Mitchell Robinson this season, we would have beat this postseason. We would have beat Atlanta because we would have been able to shut down their offense a little bit easier through the pick and roll. The pick and roll defense would have been locked down earlier. We would have been able to limit and stop how Atlanta got their majority of their points early on and have been able to game plan a little bit better. Excuse me. So I think we would have won this series. I still think we would have lost to Philly. If you put in Russell Westbrook, I think defensively we might have still gotten beat the same, but our offense might have definitely improved because we would have been able to facilitate, get in, have that player who can kind of lead the offense how we've been wanting to. But again, I don't think we beat Philadelphia with Russell Westbrook on this.
Yeah, I think the three things that we really need are one, obviously we need a primary ball handler, some sort of point guard. I think we need some movement shooters. Like I think Bullock is good on a catch and shoot, and Burks is fine if you want to create an off the dribble three. But I think that's part of the reason why our offense looks so stale. Another thing too is I think we need a big that can score a little bit. Taj is great. Noel gives you zero on offense. I don't know if Mitch is skilled enough to really give you what we really needed, I guess, in this series. I don't know if I think Capella was able to cheat
Mitch
off.
Will give you what Clint gave him, though.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
But you would need a point guard facilitator like Young, not as great, but
right. Can I throw out a name real quick? I know we want to save this stuff more too when we do off-season streams, but Jim, how do you feel about Miles Turner?
I love Miles Turner. I think that would be. I feel like that would be.
Kyle going with this.
I mean, he's gonna say
No,
something
that's
dumb, but
no. I'm not going anywhere. I just like somebody said it in the game thread that we need a shot blocking stretch five who can shoot threes. Miles Turner. That's what. That's the only. I was only going there with it.
I thought we were gonna do
I like that
player
idea.
package.
Oh, I don't know.
What about Turner and what's his name?
Brogdon.
Yeah,
Brogdon.
together.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to do that. I mean, the only concern is like I feel like that caps us out mediocre, and you're just hoping for another jump from RJ to like really bring us anywhere. But I think that would be a good solid move to like solidify us in this like 4 or 5 range. You know, like we're a lock for a treadmill playoff team, and we've been so bad for so long. If that were a 5th, 6th seed for a couple of years, I don't think that's really the end of the world. You know.
I think that's the fourth best team in the East, behind the top three. Malcolm Brogdon,
Yeah,
RJ Barrett, Reggie Bullock, Julius Randle, and Miles Turner. I think that's clearly the fourth best team in the East.
With Tibbs as the
Boston,
head coach, right? Milking them for whatever they got.
Tibbs as the head coach.
Yeah,
with Tibbs as the head coach.
We just need like some skill out of our big men. Like we just need a little bit. And like we obviously need playmaking. I feel like you'd be able to get more out of Mitch with playmaking, but I mean, just Miles Turner just being able to spread the floor and pull Capella away from the paint. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a night and day difference. That gives RJ and Randall some driving lanes. And I don't think Turner's that great of a 3-point shooter. I think he's like 33, 34%, but I'll take that. Better than 0%.
Better than what we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I want Dame on the Knicks.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream.
This is not a knee-jerk reaction after last night. I want Dame on the Knicks because he's hitting those big shots. He's got those big balls. He's doing that big ball dance. He's shutting Trae Young up. He's that player that fits everything that we need. And here's a question now, because I want to say this a little bit for our, when we talk a little bit in the postseason and talk about next season, right, in a future podcast. Real quick, what's the most you'd give up for Dame?
How many years does he have left on his contract?
Quick.
How many years does he have?
I would do. Oh, he's gonna make $48 million, I think, in like a year or two. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, he's owed a lot of money.
I think he has 3. I think he has 3 years left.
He has 4 years left.
4 years, supermax.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, supermax. So he'll be making $44 million next year. That goes up to $54 million in 2025.
Wow.
Yeah, when and in 2025 he will be at 35. That's I mean.
That's
not.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Let me ask you this though. So Slice, or anyone else can answer this, because if you trade for Lillard, you are going to have to give up RJ. Do you think that Dame and Randall are good enough to win it all by themselves? Because unless you can get someone here before Dame, you really can't do anything once you've gotten him in terms of getting another superstar.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, I think you might be able to keep RJ. I think if you did IQ, Obi, Mitch, and then this pick and the Dallas pick, and then this pick and the Dallas pick again in 2023, like that's kind of similar what Houston got for Harden. I mean, the trade was Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and a bunch of picks. I think that Dame is like a step down below Harden, but I mean, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to suggest that might work. But you might need to give up RJ.
I mean,
the price is those 4 picks. Oh, sorry, Mo, go ahead.
I was going to say that I would give up RJ if for the right person or package. Absolutely. I'm not under the notion that he's the next Kobe or whatever. I don't think he is. I think his upper limit, we've talked about it, is maybe a couple of All-Stars and whatnot. I don't think he's ever going to be the elite player. He just doesn't have the physical tools for it, I don't think, for his position.
I agree.
So I would not give him away, but if in the right package where I think it gives me room to line up better and make a better team, because I don't know that he and Randall fits all that well. Just my take. So if you're gonna go with Randall, I think you have to, right? Because he's clearly more talented.
Right.
That Randall, that RJ isn't a must to keep. Doesn't mean I want to give him away, but I think you're always looking for the team first, right? It's always about the team, not about the players. So I don't really care which players comes and goes as long as the team gets better. So I would
For
trade.
Dame,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, for Dame, I feel like you have to like consider dealing RJ.
you have to give something, right? You can't
If you're
just
getting a player of that
right,
right?
right,
For a player of that caliber, like that's something that's worthwhile. Like I said it a few months ago, is that like if you flip RJ for Dame and you could get Kawhi, I don't think Kawhi's going to come, but I'm just speculating. Like if you can do that, you like obviously trade RJ.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
okay, like
Yep.
all right, if Kawhi's going to be here, you definitely want Dame, Kawhi, and Randall. But those are the type of guys that I'm going to flip RJ for. I'm not going to be like, oh, De'Aaron Fox or Bradley Beal or whomever.
I know.
I think
Yeah,
Maple Mamba's a cute nickname and all. He's not Black Mamba. He's not Kobe. He's not like you said, Moo. He's not gonna grow up to be like Kobe. He's not gonna play like Kobe unless he takes a massive leap. We haven't. I would love to see a homegrown Nick player drafted by the team. Become somebody. But hey, we haven't had somebody sign a second contract since Charlie Ward, so I should probably throw that out the window because I was a little kid when that happened last. Basically, you know what I
mhm,
mean? So to me, yeah, I don't think and I've seen it a lot with some of my friends who are Knicks fans and on the board as well. People don't want to give up RJ for Dame. Who else would you give him up for? He's not going to be, Damian Lillard. He's never going to be as good as Damian Lillard, I
yeah.
think, in the league. And at that point, to me,
I mean, I don't necessarily know that, but you're probably right.
But the
I
question, the
mean,
question you have to ask,
granted, right?
Slice, the question you have to ask is, in 3 years, will Dame have declined and RJ have grown enough so that it's close? Because that's what you're talking about.
I don't know.
In 3
That's
years, no. I'd say no, and you guys can quote me. I mean, I could be wrong, but I say no. I don't think he makes that jump enough to be at a Damian Lillard level player. And I think with between these 3 years, the Knicks have a better shot at winning a championship with Julius
right.
Randle and Damian Lillard in the next 3 years than they would with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. And I don't think
Four or
their
5 years
future
from now
is
with
as
whatever.
negatively.
Right.
Yep. And I don't think their future in year 4, 5, 6, and 7 declines as much as people think it would if we kept RJ. If we got Dame instead of keeping RJ.
Yeah.
still
But
like
that goes back.
if you
That
could
goes
pull
back
off
to
any big
the.
trade without
That goes back to the original question, though. Is Dame and Randall enough for you to win by themselves, or do you need another superstar?
It's a better chance. It's a better chance than Julius and RJ. Is
Yep.
my answer to that.
Yeah.
But also, what else do you give up? What else do you give up with RJ? Like, can you hold on to IQ and Mitch? Then you can like make a move for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a
I
good
think
point.
that opens you up to a lot of opportunity. Also too, like maybe we hit on these two draft picks that are coming up because I don't foresee us making a trade beforehand. Maybe we get lucky. When we end up with someone that's as good as IQ in both of these draft slots. And now all of a sudden you have a couple of young guys that are all around like middle-ish starter-ish type guys that I think can make a little bit would make team like draft picks are nice, but proven commodities are better.
Let me throw one scenario at you guys, and Lou, I'll start with you first.
Hmm?
RJ Barrett, 2 of the 4 draft picks, and 1 of IQ or Mitch, or what Jim said before, all 4 picks, IQ and Mitch,
You mean
and
Delta or
Obi,
keep?
or dealt. So either you're trading RJ Barrett, 2 of these any 4 picks, the 2 Nick picks or the Dallas picks, plus 1 of IQ or Mitch, you can pick, or the 4 draft picks, IQ, Mitch, and Obi,
Wow.
or Dame.
Who go first?
I think maybe that second one, because if you're trying to get Dame, and I think Barrett is not a number 2 option. He might slot better as a number 3. So from a winning now standpoint, I think that would get you closer, right? But then the question is, I would try to keep Mitch at all costs. I'd give up everything else. Um, that gives you a core that you can then go out and hopefully still, right? Because in that particular case, the only big contract you're picking up is Dame. it might create more opportunities for you to get someone else to sign, even if it's not a top guy, like a another strong player. Now you've got Randall, you've got Dame, you've got RJ, you've got Mitch, and you've got this other player, right? That's a talent team. Like I said, I've always said talent wins. A lot of the guys say, well, you just need 3-and-D guys. You can only have 5 guys on the team on the floor at once, right? You can't have 5 3-and-D guys, right? Right. The Hawks have
I mean,
3.
you saw how
Yeah.
you saw how limited Bullocks was
You,
in the
you can't.
series. Bullock was
You can't.
not.
Yeah, exactly.
He
If
killed
you
us.
want,
He killed us offensively.
yeah, if you want to beat the big dogs, if the goal is just to make the playoffs and kind of look okay, yeah, great. But if you want to beat the big guys, you have to beat them with talent, because that's what they're throwing at you. And there's a reason why talent gets paid the big bucks. It's not because teams like to pay people money. It's because they win, right? So
Yeah.
that's the reason why. That's always been the reason why. That's economics. Teams don't throw away money for nothing. They give money to the superstars because they help you win, right? So this team is we said it from the start. This team lacks talent. They need talent. If you want to win, this team, again, that's why I'm not so upset. They were the least talented team heading into the playoffs. So the fact that they even got there is great. They stunk it up, but you know what? The talent's just not there. They need to get talent, and that's the goal. So if the goal is to win and try to win as much as possible and compete for a title or conference champ, whatever it is, you need to add talent. That means you have to sacrifice, because you can't find talent under a rock. You could, right? You could always get really lucky, right? A lot of the guys on the board say, well, let's just use all of our draft picks and maybe we'll get lucky. Okay, and the 90% of the time that you don't get lucky, how long do you want to go at this? Right?
Yeah.
So you need to make moves. You need to give up things to get, right? The goal is give up less than what you get, and what you get is the right mix of players to win. That's what the front office is get paid for. Anybody can make trades, right? It's how to make the right trades, right? So
What'd you say, Kyle?
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm with Moo. I feel like you do everything you can to hold on to RJ, and if you can do that and grab the superstar, because then again, you can always package RJ into somebody else as well down the road. Like I think he's definitely the very valuable trade chip. Um, yeah, I mean that's really I'm pretty much with Moo, 100% there. So that's all I got to say about
Yeah,
that.
I just want to address the one point that Moo brought up, where a lot of fans out there, a lot of people on the board want to keep all the draft picks and think, hey, let's just get the young talent. The Knicks can't draft well at 8. What makes you think we're going to draft well at 19 and 20, or 20 and 21, wherever?
Manuel quickly.
I don't think that's. Yeah, great. You're going to pull
Hey, well,
out one guy.
quickly, Mitch.
You're going to pull out one guy
Yeah.
or Mitch, and that's it. 2
Ignas
guys.
Brazdeikis.
And even then, yeah. Oh man, Iggy. But I mean, even then, Mitchell
I mean, there's
Robinson.
like Desmond
Mitchell
Bain,
Robinson
Peyton
shown-
Pritchard. They were all guys that went at the end of the draft
we're
this
talking about
year,
the Knicks. You
and
can
this was
talk
a bad
about-
draft.
You can talk about Manu Ginobili. You can talk about many players. We're talking about the Knicks.
I'm
All
just
we
talking
have
about
is-
last. I'm just talking about last draft.
No,
You know,
but
I'm
you
just
have to
saying
think
that
about the
there's a
team.
bunch of good role players in these spots.
But that's the
And
thing,
there's
right? The Knicks,
superstars that get drafted at 8, and we can't seem to hit them either.
right?
The Knicks
I
just
mean,
don't hit. I mean,
the Knicks have roster.
IQ is good.
Yeah, the Knicks have role players.
Yeah.
So if the goal is to get draft really good role players, you can sign really good role players, right? The Knicks have the most cap space of any team. So if the team, if guys think the Knicks need talented role players, that's what the cap is for. It's easier to sign talented role players than it is to find one late in the draft, right? So you need to,
Superstars.
yeah.
Look at Brooklyn. You
I mean,
bring in
I mean,
superstars,
I
you'll
guess.
get players that get signed.
Yeah.
You'll get players that want to come to the Knicks. Buy me out. I want to go to New York. You'll get players like that once you bring in superstars. And I think I think you and I are on the same page on this.
Yeah.
Get the stars to the Knicks. You'll be able to fill out the team around them. We've been just trying to. This is the first few years that we started trying to actually rebuild semi-properly,
Right.
and the Knicks overachieved. I just don't want people to start falling in love with that. Hey, we overachieved. We have a future centerpiece, or a star player in Julius Randle we're going to keep. Young enough still, fits into the timeline. Let's start getting superstars around him to then start building the team from there, because we clearly saw we're a piece away. We're more than a piece away, but you need that one piece here sooner rather than later.
I mean, IQ is flippable. If you get a couple guys on that in that sort of level, obviously same with Mitch too.
Right.
Mitch is a very tradable piece. Like, and you're also going to have these guys wrapped up on rookie contracts. Like, I just, like, obviously we want to get superstars here, but like, if you have a bunch of solid guys on rookie contracts, you can flip them. Like, I just I don't see the separation between what we're both saying. I guess really, like, I don't really want to sign role players right now, but if you can draft those guys that can be borderline starters for your team, like that's super, and
Sure.
then they become tradable. So yeah, that's how I feel, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it wasn't really towards you, Jim. It was just more of what I've seen on the board. Really, is what I
Yeah.
was addressing there. Just more of people that don't want to build, don't want to get better talent and get stars. I think that's really what more of it was at. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
wasn't something.
I'm just because I agree with you too, because it's like nobody wants to give up anything to get anything. So it's
Right.
like I totally understand what you're trying to say, and that's why I'm like, all right, I'll trade some stuff, but I don't see that. Well, one, I don't even see that guy on the market, but two, like we got to take advantage of the assets that we have and turn them into something. Because like I said, like you get another guy as good as IQ, another guy that's as good as Mitch, and those are like almost I can see them being borderline starter type guys. Then you're in the money. You can make a move. Especially there's going to be someone disgruntled coming out soon. Like I don't know, maybe Dame is going to be pissed off this offseason, and that might happen, or it might happen next offseason. We got to make sure that we have guys that we can turn into things.
Yeah, and I think we're there right now. I think with this season overachieving the way the team did, I think we do have some of those younger players that are now seen as assets around the league. But well, we have a
What
bunch
do you
of
guys?
prospects.
I have one. I got one question for you guys before we move on to whatever we're doing. So, what would you like to see from an improvement from our core guys going into next season?
If we
Like one
keep
things that you
everyone,
would want.
yeah, I
I
mean,
know, like our core, like your like RJs, your Mitches, your Randalls, your IQs, your Obies. It's
um,
like Rose is going to be Derek Rose and Derek and Taj Gibson are who they are.
right,
These young guys
right.
can still grow a little bit.
I think with RJ, he's gotta learn to work on his ball handling. That's really, I think, the biggest thing. The reason why he keeps fumbling and getting blocked, and all, I don't think is really his speed, his foot speed. It's just he doesn't control the ball very well. He wants to. He tries. I mean, you can't knock the guy. He tries, right? More so than probably any other player on this team. His skill set is just not there. So a lot of times it looks just really ugly. So he needs to work on his ball handling skills above anything else. I mean, he could be a mid-range shot as well because I think he's fallen so much in love with that corner three that if it's not there, and it wasn't there for most of this playoffs, he really can't do anything else, right? So you got to be able to score on three levels close to the basket, which is the ball handling. Three-pointer he's kind of got, but he's falling too much in love with it, and the mid-range, right? Because they're going to give him that.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to hit it. And that's, I think, those are the two main things: the mid range and the ball handling. With ball handling being the number one, especially with this team, if they don't find that top tier, right, ball handler, point guard, they're gonna need him more. Right? The Knicks can't rely on Randall to be their point guard. Point guard, he just can't. Right? We see what happened in this whole playoffs. For I mean, Mitch, I'm honestly concerned. I think there's something going on with him. So I would keep my pulse, right, my finger on the pulse and see where he's at. And if I don't feel that he's got the right mindset, maybe I try to leverage that and flip him. If he is, and talent-wise, he's perfect. He's what the Knicks needed. But I don't know. I just don't get a great feel for him. The rest of these guys, IQ, I think is great. He's just gonna, learn the game a little bit more. I'm not too worried about him. The rest of these guys, I don't think any of these guys are gonna come back per se. I think those are the three. Oh, Obi, he's looked a lot better. He's just got to build a more of a killer mentality. He's just a little too nice, I think. Right, so maybe get stronger and become more aggressive. Just go, right? He's the Knicks' longest player right now. Probably the quickest straight line player. He could jump the highest.
Yeah.
When you got the lane, just go for it. And if you get fouled, you get fouled. Right. That's about it.
Yeah. For Mitch, you know, I think the big only thing he needs to improve is just stay healthy. That's really it. Just improve his body. You know, that's his biggest downfall right now. Defensively plays well. Again, like I said before, I think if he played this series, it would have been a whole different series altogether. And Atlanta's offense with not, even though we held them down, to not their normal level of production, it would have been a whole different series. So I think with Mitch, it's just health. Um, with Obi, it's just, to kind of Moo's point there, he's just happy to be there, which he really can't be. At first he was a little tentative. I want to be more aggressive. Like I think Moo, you brought up a great point. He's our longest player. He might be our most athletic player. He's got that kind of quick twitch speed. A little bit. You kind of see it from time to time. When he's able to get some deflections, some steals. I just want to be more aggressive, both on defense and offense. So I think just being aggressive, that aggression, and not being just happy to be here. Hey, I'm on the court. Yay, I got a dunk. No, just play hard, be physical the whole time. Julius Randle, he made that jump this year. He did limit a lot of the things that we saw. We saw better defense from him overall. We did see a lot less turnovers and spinning. Granted, he had half of the Knicks turnovers this game and 7 of our first 10. So I think it may be I just want to see him improve in clutch situations, I guess, or, the playoffs, because you really can't knock much that he did during the regular season. So I guess take another step up, progress, and when the pressure time comes, be that player that the team on would be for Julius there. IQ, yeah, Moo, I think you hit it on the head, right? He's just a young guy. Just learn the game a little bit more. Get a layup package. Don't rely on just a floater. Be able to attack the paint a little bit, finish in different ways than just hitting that floater. And that's really the only thing I can think about that. And yeah, and again with RJ, I think you hit it well. I wasn't going to say ball handling. I was going to say be a 3-level scorer, but I think ball handling and being a 3-level scorer go hand in hand. So you kind of beat me to that there. He was hitting that mid-range jumper, that free throw line jumper, a lot early in the year, if you guys remember right. He was going to it more. Him and Julius were both attacking both of the elbows there, and that was really how the Knicks offense got going well. And then exactly like you guys both have mentioned, and we've all said periodically, fell in love with the corner three, became a great 3-point shooter, but then abandoned that mid-range game. Didn't get to his spots there to let it open up. Where then if his 3-point shot's not falling, he was bored. He was invisible one half, then he'd come alive in the next half. I'd like to see him just not be so one-dimensional and kind of hit those 3 spots and see where it's going. Sometimes the three's not there, but your mid-range jumper is there, but you're not taking the elbow jumper because you want to start to get your rhythm back. And just him driving to the paint. I want him to start being aggressive, use that kind of misdirection. That's kind of why I used to compare him to Paul Pierce a lot when that comparison came up. When he gets to the paint, when he hits his layups, is when he does that little, and it's not even a Euro step. It's like an awkward Euro step where the slow row step where he kind of takes half a step back. And I love that move because he's able to use his body, create that separation, and then kind of go back. It's almost like a step back layup. And I love to see that. And I think that's what he needs to use more. I don't know if I missed anybody else. Yeah, I think, Rose is Rose, like you said, Taj is Taj. I personally would like to see Alec Burks come back because he does fall. If he can improve and did what he did, I think he's kind of that, guard off the bench that can come in and kind of light it up a few times that he did at the Knicks need. So I would like to see Alec Burks come back. I don't know, Kyle, if you want to tackle that one, then.
Jim, you're on mute.
Jim, you're on mute.
Kyle, go first before me because it was my question.
I think you guys all pretty much hit it. The one thing I would say about RJ is he has to improve his shot making off the dribble, whether that's in his pull-up game and his layup package. I quickly needs to be able to make layups too. Same thing with Randall. He needs to be able to score off the dribble more. Mitch, I don't know if there's anything he can do to improve at this point that he can add. He's been saying he has a 3-point shot for like 3 years now. I haven't seen it. So if he could, put his money where his mouth is, I would love to see that.
Once in a while, right?
Yeah, just, at one point in the game, just say fuck it and yeet one up there. That's about it.
Noel shot a 3. Yeah, Noel shot a 3. Where's Mitch's 3?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, I've been saying it before. I think of the 4 guys, not including Peyton, because we all know he's leaving. The 4 guys that have their contract stuff, I think Rose and maybe Bullock are the only ones I want back. Burks, he's too inconsistent. If we get a real point guard, that's Burks, Rose, and Quick off the bench. I think that's a little too many cooks in the kitchen. And then Noel is just he's a fine backup, but I don't want to pay him. And yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts: RJ finishing and off the dribble shooting, IQ finishing, same with ball handling, and probably work on his playmaking a little bit if that's a thing that you can really work on, because he misses guys on passes a lot. Randall, I would like to see him work on his actual movement shooting, running off screens and stuff like that. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be in his wheelhouse, but it'd be nice to have him play off ball a little bit, because even tonight you kind of saw that once you put the ball in RJ's hands and let him play pick and roll, we kind of made a couple mini runs, and then they swapped Obi back out for Randall, and all of a sudden we kind of deflated again. So I think if there's a way to get him some just get him the ball in different ways, that would probably help him out a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I also agree with you guys. Mitch is probably what Mitch is. We can dream of a jumper, but I mean, that's like waiting on a George R.R. Martin book. That's probably not going to happen. Yeah.
See, I gave up on that. I gave up on that 7 years ago.
Hit the weight room.
I gave up on those George R.R. Martin books 7 years ago. Yeah, and one still hasn't come out.
Yeah.
That's why I went with a dream of a jumper as a tongue-in-cheek a Song of Ice and Fire joke, but then I realized that probably no one else would get that other than me. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to pose on you, and let's hope these guys just get locked in the lab.
Yeah, there is one point with Julius I forgot to bring up, and I guess let me tie it back to this game that we've very. There's a very good reason why we were talking about it was Julius stopped the ball a lot. And I wanted to bring it up during the Carmelo conversation. When I brought up that Carmelo point, everybody's biggest beef with Carmelo was the ball stop with him. A lot of the times the Knicks offense seemed stagnant, not only tonight, but the whole series there wasn't much ball movement. The ball would get to Randall and he just hesitate. And that was part of the tentativeness that you guys brought up. And that was part of, the hesitation and him just looking shook, where the Knicks offense really flowed when, like you mentioned, ball movement, going off the screen, RJ running it, finding the guy. I noticed a lot during this game, and unfortunately I wasn't able to watch as much as 3 and 4 as I wanted to, but I still did notice it then, and obviously one's in game 1 and 2. Randall got the ball, and the ball stopped really bad almost, and it reminded me of Carmelo Anthony. That was, it reminded me of the ball's going there, and unfortunately Julius Randle is never going to be that, that 3-level scorer, ISO scorer that Carmelo Anthony was. There's very few players in the NBA that will be. And I think just what Julius really does need to improve on, and I think this will help him take it to the next level. Quicker decisions. He was doing it well during the season a lot, but quicker decisions, and I think that would have brought the team really well and brought us where we needed to be. But I'm surprised
because that's what the Hawks took away.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One more thing, and then
ahead,
we can move on. So that was the one thing that the Hawks really took away this series is they didn't allow Randall to post up, and I think he led the NBA in post ups. I know he led the NBA in isolation, but that was a big part of our offense. So that Randall would get in Carmelo's office, and instead of a turnaround fadeaway jumper, either Randall would drive towards the paint and he would either kick it out to the corner shooter and the 3-point shooter in the corner, or he would get to the rim. They just completely removed that from our offense, and you can see how much it deflated the entire team. That's what we played. That was our whole offense, really.
And that's the big difference between Randall and Carmelo, right? Because Carmelo is a lot harder to shut down.
Hey, I found the stat. So, in the season, Randall did not lead the league. He was third behind Embiid and Jokic. By a good bit too. Embiid was 474, Jokic 415. Randall had 300 over the course of the year. Okay. In the playoffs, NBA.com has a grand total of 1 post up by Julius Randle. So
one successful one, or
yes.
Okay.
What that means is that there is one shot attempt out of a post up.
Well, there you go. There you go. I mean, no wonder we scored 80 points tonight. You know what I mean?
He takes too long to get a shot off. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's
he was
one of the most
comfortable in the
positive
post. He was comfortable in the post, and he was able to make smart decisions in the post. But they took that away from him, and he freaked out. He couldn't get to his spots.
He's got to look at some Embiid and Jokic highlights and video workout tapes and just see how they because teams throw 2 or 3 guys at them and they're able to operate because they can spot the open guy and get the ball out. I think that's Randall's.
He can also get
pass.
deeper.
Right.
They get deeper post position as well,
Right,
which
right.
helps.
Right.
He was a little bit further out than those guys. That's true.
Yeah.
But wow, that stat actually shocked me. 1 in 5 games. Pretty ridiculous, but I mean, yeah, I'm
From
surprised we're
third.
talking. Yeah, from third, exactly. But yeah, I'm surprised we talked about this. We didn't even talk about this game for an hour. I'm surprised we're still talking for about an hour now. But
I told you guys this was going to happen. I told you guys. So, audience, this goes like before the podcast. Well, we were all talking, oh, this is going to be a short one. This is going to be a short one. I told them. We said the same thing before the last two. We put an hour on both of those. I told them this was going to go an hour.
How just like in games that we lose, that the post game thread is like 300 pages. In the games that win, it's like 50 pages.
Man, this sucks.
Right.
I was playing on finishing matchup tonight.
Guess we can wrap up then.
Nah, we'll wrap up. We just like talking to each other. That's all, guys. That's all it really is. But all right, real quick before we get to our final thoughts and wrap it up for a bit, give us, since we don't have a future game to predict, give me your thoughts on who's going to win the finals, who's going to represent the East, who's going to represent the West, and who wins in how many games. Jim, you go first.
I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're going to come out of the East and win the playoffs. I don't think I think LeBron is going to lose in the first round. I think that's what's going to happen. And once he's out, I think it's a full free for all. And there's no way that I'm going to say Brooklyn's going to win. So I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
It's Giannis's time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the Nets. I just think that I don't want them to win. If there's one team that I would wish to lose, other than the Hawks right now, it's the Nets. So, but I just think they're just too much talent, and when push comes to shove, I think all 3 of those guys will step it up because they can, right? It's in their nature. So I think all 3 of those guys will step it up, and I think they will come out of the East. In the West, I don't even know who's right now. I don't know that there's a favorite who,
It's a tough West this year,
I would not be surprised, and I'll say it right now, that the Nets win and make Knicks fans' lives even more miserable. That's but just kind of just really being honest, I think they're the one team that has full control and knows what they're doing, what they're supposed to do, who does what. And you got any of 3 guys that can really just go off, and it's just pretty much impossible to stop them. And they have enough bodies and talent to make up for everything else, right? They may not be the most defensively strong team, but if they got enough guys, right? A lot of times your offense can be your defense, and their offense can drive other teams nuts, right? And we saw what the Hawks offense did to the Knicks defense. So I'll go with the Nets winning the East, and I'll even go with them winning the championship.
Kyle, let's kick it over to you, man. Give us your thoughts.
Well, it's going to be the Nets because God hates us. Who they're going to beat? Who they're going to beat in the finals? That's pretty tough. I think the only team that I've seen that actually looks dominant is maybe the Jazz, but they're also playing the weakest opponent. I think if I had to pick, the Clippers aren't making it because they're cursed too. I'm sorry, Clippers fans. That's just our franchise, man. I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Phoenix. I think they're making it harder than it needs to be in themselves. Then Denver, you don't have Jamal Murray, you have Jokic. That's kind of hard. I don't know. I think really the only one that I think the Jazz have looked the best so far out of all the teams, even though it is a really tough conference.
For my thoughts,
Luka's insane.
He is. He is.
27 points at halftime.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
I mean, if God hates the Knicks,
Sorry,
it'll be a,
Slice.
no, no worries. I said if God really hates the Knicks, it'll be a Dallas Brooklyn final, and they both get the championship.
Oh,
But luckily, that can't happen.
Oh,
So,
God.
if
Hey,
Joel
Luka has a
Embiid
new
is
best.
healthy-
Luka has a new biggest fan in NYK mentality because he's
Uh-uh.
really putting us white boys on the map. Jesus Christ!
Is that a real post? Is that
yes,
like a real quote from
yeah.
him?
He actually said that.
Oh, God.
I'm not
Oh,
gonna
God.
address that. But
Yeah. We're going to casually move on from that.
yeah. So if Philly was fully healthy, they would be my choice to win the East. Since they're not, as much as I hate to say it, it's Brooklyn out of the East. Too much talent. In the West, yeah, Utah might have looked the best, but I'll go with Denver. I'm gonna pick Denver coming out the West. Phoenix is too young. Portland just kind of cursed as well. They just can never, I don't think they have enough depth. They're a solid team. I just think they're gonna lose a hard-fought series to Denver. Utah, I like Utah, good team. I just don't think they're gonna beat Denver in a 7-game series, even without Jamal Murray. So I think Brooklyn in 6 over Denver. But we'll see what happens. We all know, unfortunately, it's not going to be the New York Knicks. So for the last time this season, guys, before we get into the off-season podcast, Jim, your final thoughts on this game, this series, and this season.
I think it's really disappointing that we weren't really competitive in the last 3 games. I think I have more issue than that. Like if we lost a bunch of games that were like game 1 and game 2, and we went out, it would have sucked. But like I would have been a little less deflated. It's like really like took a lot out of me and made me not feel not as great as the season. But at the same time, it's like this was all house money. It was really great to make the playoffs. It was awesome to see so much winning basketball. And you know what? The sky's still the limit. Our best player is still only 26 years old. Our second best player, third, second, whatever. He's still 20 years old. He's still got a lot of room to grow. And he works on his finishing, and he can hit some mid-range jump shots. To be a threat in that middle ground. You're looking at a 22 to 23 point scorer, and that's going to be great. We seem to have smart front office people. We have a solid head coach. We have a ton of cap space, a ton of draft capital. I have faith in the first time in a long time, and it's really great to feel. It's unfortunately that we just got smacked by the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that we lost, and especially the way we lost. Knick fans, it's not the end of the world. It's actually, I think, the beginning of something. Just like Jim said, we're in the best position we've been in. Oh, I don't know, since I don't even know. Right? It's been so long since the Knicks were in a position where they have something and there's room to grow. Right? The last time 2012-13 they had something, but there was no room to grow. It was a 1-year thing. Everybody knew that. Before that, I don't know, Ewing in '84, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. So I wouldn't get too down on this. I mean, once you get over the awful loss to the Hawks, I think there's a lot of positives to look forward to for this team in this offseason. I mean, just like Jim said, right? We got young talent, guys that look like they're good people, the good players. We got a real front office. I mean, we haven't really seen them move, but the little moves here and there in drafts, it shows them that they're a smart group, right? And the background that some of these guys have, they're from winning organizations, right? They're not, schlocks from, whatever that Mills or Isaiah drug up out of nowhere. These are guys from winning organizations. We've got draft picks, we've got cap space. I think, I'm looking forward to this offseason more so than I've been in any offseason in a long time. Kyle?
And that's without a lottery pick too.
Yeah, sure.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hey, do you guys think that Coke will mind if I take Scrub of the Night for tonight? I got a good one.
Go right
No,
ahead.
not at all.
Because I think he's going to perfectly agree with me on this one. Tonight's Scrub is obviously Frank Ntilikina. Because when you think about it, you go back to game one, he had one job to do. One. If he makes that stop, if he does his one job, we're still playing basketball right now. Frank, scrub of the night.
I'm going to go with Kevin Knox. If we drafted somebody else other than you, we would probably do much better in this game.
Hey. I'm doing scrub of the night. You're not doing scrub of the night. No. Strike that one from the record. That one's not going on the wall.
It doesn't count. Right.
End stream now.
Kyle's trying to bait me on that, and with that, he doesn't get to give us his final thoughts. He just ends his season on scrub of the night. So, but yeah.
Slice. You say that like I'm not in control of the stream. I can just mute you guys and give my own thoughts. I'm not going to because I'm nice.
You would know about it.
Yeah, you guys would never find out.
That's true. Find out the next day. But yeah, I mean, great season. Like you guys said, we were playing with house money in the playoffs. Just sucks to see, 3 non-competitive losses to end what was really a great, successful year for the Knicks. I think you hit it right on the head, right? I think this is one of the most interesting, challenging, fun off seasons for Knicks fans. Building off a great season, building off a playoff appearance where the team still has a lot of room to grow, both cap-wise, player-wise, talent-wise, front office-wise, and coaching-wise. I think we're all in good spots in all of those facets. And I think just as long as the team continues to make improvements, front office continues to do what they have to do, and the players and the coaching staff take a look at what happened in the playoffs and understand, hey, we had a great season. This was our downfall. Let's learn and grow from there. Like you said, the sky's the limit for the team. Hopefully the team just show. We just wanted the team to show a little bit more fight to end the year, and I think that's really what it came down to. But take the little bit of time to be disappointed getting out of the playoffs. At least we didn't get swept like Miami, and at least we weren't the first team eliminated in the playoffs. So take solace in that fact. But hey, we really appreciate everybody who joined us throughout the course of this season for the No Blood, No Foul podcast. Be sure to be on the lookout for our podcast coming up in the off season. We'll have a short one coming up, within the next week or so around, wrapping up a recap, of the next season, and then definitely taking a look into everybody's favorite time of the year, which is the NBA draft, as well as free agency. So, give us a thumbs up if you like what you heard tonight. Subscribe so you can catch those podcasts when they do come out. We'll catch you guys during the off season, and we out.
Crying for calls, we took your morale.
Congratulations till we run that clock out. MSG to Mecca, this is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock clout. Till we run that clock out. MSG Mecca, our house. NYC forever, mob out. Kid drip, clock clout.